Good day YouTube, and hello again to my subscribers. Today I'm going to talk some more about the rotating Earth as we have come to understand it and as it is taught in school, and hopefully clear up a few misconceptions surrounding it. What is the Coriolis effect? Most people think of the Coriolis effect in terms of meteorology, with the rotating Earth moving under the atmosphere. For all intents and purposes, the atmosphere is considered stationary with respect to the Earth rotating under it. Of course, there are high and low pressure systems within the atmosphere that create winds and various other localized weather conditions, and we are taught that the rotation of the Earth is the root cause for the direction of the spiraling winds. For example, large weather patterns such as hurricanes rotate in opposite directions in the northern and southern hemispheres. This is all due to friction at the surface, where the dirt meets the air above it. We are told that the ground effects on a micro level are so minuscule that we don't feel its immediate effects locally, but on a macro scale, over vast distances, the friction between the stationary atmosphere and the dirt surface is said to be the root cause of the spiral wind directions in the two hemispheres. One common misconception I often hear is that the atmosphere is somehow tattooed to the rotating Earth and they move as one unit, so to speak. This statement could be perceived as true, likely because it reflects what we observe in our natural world. We don't perceive any motion whatsoever, not even the slightest consistent micro breeze from the east as we rotate under the atmosphere. Now, anyone that gives this a moment's thought will soon realize that in order for there to be any friction at all between the atmosphere and the surface, there must first be a difference in speed and a point of contact. It's Physics 101. And according to the bare-bone fundamental premise of meteorology of how a rotating Earth must interact on a physical level with the atmosphere above it, we can safely assume that the tattooed rotating system is not a valid statement and simply a rumor and a misconception. There would be no need to teach Coriolis in the physical Earth sciences because there would be no detachment between the Earth and the atmosphere, resulting in no cause for friction and ultimately no Coriolis. Another way to confirm this misconception to be a misconception is to review what we were taught as children about the Coriolis effect and objects that are detached from the surface and moving freely over the Earth. The best way to do this is to go straight to the source, the Teacher's Guide to Teaching Coriolis, because the Earth turns. Brought to you by none other than the Meteorological Society of America, and supported by the National Science Foundation. Now, everything we need to know is right here on the first page. First, it talks about ocean effects and then goes on to say, objects, including planes and boats, freely moving horizontally almost everywhere on Earth, except at the equator, turn right or left. The turning of the moving object's path, as seen from our vantage point on Earth, is the Coriolis effect. You have no idea how hard it is to keep my opinions in check at this moment, but I digress. Moving on. Why does this curved motion occur? Aren't objects that are moving freely and unconstrained in horizontal direction supposed to move in a straight path? As described by Sir Isaac Newton's first law of motion, an object in motion should remain in motion in a straight line unless acted upon by an outside force. Blah blah blah. If there is no horizontal force acting on the object to make this happen, there must be another explanation. There is. The Earth is turning underneath the moving object. That is, the Earth rotates. All motion must be measured with respect to something, and the Earth is our frame of reference. Earth is so immense that we usually think of it as stationary. That's probably because it is. That is why objects moving horizontally and freely appear to turn to the right or left. Actually, it's the Earth that is doing the turning as the object moves forward. Now, there is only one definition for unconstrained, and only one way to interpret free moving. So the object that is now detached from the rotating surface is indeed free to move in any direction, according to Newton's first law. And by being detached from the rotating surface, it becomes bound to the same atmosphere that science claims is the root cause of Coriolis due to friction where the dirt meets the air. So you can clearly see, the atmosphere being tattooed to the rotating Earth is a simple misconception due to a simple misunderstanding of the very root of Coriolis. Now, this is not uncommon, or surprising really. The rotating Earth with regards to freely moving objects such as plane, helicopters, and even baseballs is taught at a very young age. Simple enough to remember that the Earth rotates, but boring enough to forget the details. So, now that we are all on the same page, I have a question for all the science guys out there with the university educations and the master's degrees. Hell, this one's even for the professors that are teaching this stuff. If an object becomes detached from the surface and is now considered unrestrained and able to move freely in any direction, as we are led to believe in this case, and as we are taught specifically, then why, if I am hovering in a helicopter, does the Earth not rotate and the West come to me? This is a very simple question that I would expect has a very simple answer, but there seems to be no logical answer to this question, at least not from the scientific community, to the best of my knowledge. I have posed this question in the form of a cannon being fired straight up and occasionally landing back into the barrel it was fired from, and the only answer I have come across that is even remotely on the cusp of making sense is the argument that maybe inertia, relative motion, or horizontal velocity plays a role in this. Regardless of the title they choose, they often post a link to this video or various other animations showing the same type of thing. They will use this as the reason why a cannonball can sometimes land back in the barrel. This is the same excuse used for a hovering helicopter, as the helicopter is believed to maintain the angular velocity of the Earth before it leaves the ground and is considered detached. All of the arguments fail to work in sync with the principal scientific foundation of the Coriolis effect as taught in our education system. The Earth rotates under the atmosphere and anything in that atmosphere, such as planes, helicopters, and even baseballs. Even if we assumed that the horizontal velocity of the helicopter retains its eastward momentum after liftoff, how long will it take your imagination to allow you to consider that helicopter to be officially detached from the Earth? You know, to the point where it can move unconstrained and freely, just like it's taught in grade school? Now, most people just throw equations at me at this point, and say I don't understand the Coriolis. Well, I firmly disagree. I understand it quite well, and I have read through tons of literature on the subject. Now, aside from the mindless onslaught of people parroting textbooks examples of formulas and equations that fit the globe model, not realizing for a second that they are given both the model and the formulas to work with, and told how and what to calculate using only the tools provided and only in the context provided, aside from attempting conversation with mindless zombies in search for a simple answer to a simple question about a helicopter hovering over a rotating Earth, there are still only two arguments, and they are both absolutely ridiculous. So, that being said, the question still remains. If, and in this case, when, an object becomes detached from the surface and is now unconstrained and able to move freely in any direction, as we are all led to believe in this case, and as we are all taught specifically, then why, if I am hovering in a helicopter, does the Earth not rotate and the West come to me? It's a very simple and logical question that should have a very simple and logical answer. Yet there is no logical, factual, or reality-based answer provided by any university anywhere in the world that I can find. But maybe, just maybe, there is one logical answer. One that is so simple, most people wouldn't believe it if their life depended on it. Maybe the Earth is not rotating. To my friends and family, you know who you are, and I love you all. Real eyes, real eyes, real lies. I'm trying to give you your sight back. Please wake up and try to wake up others. Thank you.